Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila 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 Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo.
Guru Puja ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrenda ki jai, Shri Shri Sai Goswami Rupa Raghunath ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Madhava Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Madhava Harinam Sankirtan Brihat Madanga Kali Yuga Dharma Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Saturday Festival ki jai. Saturday Harinam Festival ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory all assembled devotee. All glory all assembled devotee. All glory all Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
I do my duty. Thank you. Thank you.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vinda, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vinda, Jaya गौरभक्तवृंद जय गौरभक्तवृंद जय जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिवार जगचार्य सुतोत्तर सतज डिवाइन ग्रेसेस श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा नीला माधव की जय। राधा गिरिधारी की जय। गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। गौर निताय की जय। पंचतत्व की जय। लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। गौर भक्तविंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। ऑल glories to assemble devotee Hare Krishna. All glories to assemble devotee Hare Krishna. All glories to assemble devotee Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to lotus feet of Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Dinamine. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Padreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, The Son of Drona Punished, text number 8. Sasamhitam Bhagavatam Kritva nukramya chatmajam Sukham adhyapayamasha Nivritti niratam muniha Sasamhitam bhagavatim Kritva nukramya chatmajam Sukham adhyapayam asha Nivritti niratam muniha Sasamhitam bhagavatim Kritva nukramya chatmajam Sukham adhyapayam asha Nivritti niratam muniha. Sasamhitam bhagavatim Anuganya chajanam Sasumitam bhagavatim Kritva nukramya chatmajam Sukhamadhyapayam asha Nivritti nivritam munihi. Sasamhitam bhagavatim Kritva nukramya chatmajam Madhyapayamasa Nivritam munihi. Sasamhitam bhagavatim Sasamhitam Bhagavatim Pitva Nukramya Chatmajam Sukham Madhyapayam Asha Nivritti Niratam Muniha. Word to word. Saha, that Samhitam, Vedic literature, Bhagavatim, in relation with the personality of Godhead, Kritva, having done, Anukramya, by correction and repetition, Cha, and Atmajam, his own son, Sukham, Sukadeva Goswami, Adhyapayatam Asha, taught, Nivritti, path of self-realization. Niratam, engaged. Muniha, the sage. Translation and purport by His Divine Loving Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Shukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization.
Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentation on the Brahma Sutras compiled by the same author. This Brahma Sutra, or Vedanta Sutra, is meant for those who are already engaged in self-realization. Srimad Bhagavatam is so made that one becomes at once engaged in the path of self-realization simply by hearing the topics. Although it is especially meant for the Paramahamsas, or those who are totally engaged in self-realization, it works into the depths of the hearts of those who may be worldly men. Worldly men are all engaged in sense gratification, but even such men will find in this Vedic literature a remedial measure for their material diseases. Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from the very beginning of his birth, and his father taught him Srimad Bhagavatam. Amongst mundane scholars, there is some diversity of opinion as to the date of compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is, however, certain from the text of the Bhagavatam that it was compiled before the disappearance of King Parikshit and after the departure of Lord Krishna. When Maharaj Parikshit was ruling the world as the king of Bharatvarsha, he chastised the personality of Kali. According to revealed scriptures and astrological calculation, the age of Kali is in its 5,000th year. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled not less than 5,000 years ago. Mahabharata was compiled before Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Puranas were compiled before Mahabharata. That is an estimation of the date of compilation of the different Vedic literatures. The synopsis of Srimad Bhagavatam was given before the detailed description under instruction of Narada. Srimad Bhagavatam is the science for following the path of Nivritti Marg. The path of Pravritti Marg was condemned by Narada. That path is the natural inclination for all conditioned souls. The theme of Srimad Bhagavatam is the cure of the materialistic disease of the human being, or stopping completely the pangs of material existence.
Thank you. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayayevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So this instruction from Narada Muni to Srila Vyasadeva is completed, and here it is describing that last 3-4 verses is a very beautiful verse, and Srila Prabhupada gave wonderful purports. In today's verse here it is describing that after compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it says revisiting it. So this is, Vyasadeva didn't think that I am a literary incarnation of the Lord. I just wrote it one time and it should be good. But it is the benefit of every living entity for whole world, not only whole world, the whole universe. So that's why, he revisiting it, revising it, making sure that everything is correct. And here Srila Prabhupada is right in the purport that how the timeline of the Srimad Bhagavatam's appearance. And it says that it happened after Krishna's departure, because we saw that one of the questions was asked that after Krishna left this world, where did the religious principle, took a shelter of? And Srimad Bhagavatam. So it was after Krishna's departure. But we also know that it was Parikshit Maharaj also was cursed, right? So before that it was already there, because it was spoken by Sukadeva Goswami, but it was already written before that. So it described, Prabhupada says that Kali Yuga started 5,000 years ago, and before Kali Yuga started, he says that Kali personified met Maharaj Parikshit, and he was ready to chastise him, and he says that give me some protection, I am taking shelter of you. And he gave the protection to 4 places. And what are the 4 places? Places where there is illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. And he described that in those days, 5,000 years ago, Kali Yuga says that I couldn't find it in your kingdom. Where would I stay? Right? And then Parikshit Maharaj said, okay, well, you can stay where the gold is being hoarded, or the wealth is being hoarded. And Kali smiled, because he understood that I'll find that place. Because human mind is always looking for something for me, for time immemorial. It's not just a Kali Yuga phenomenon. There's always, people think that they will be here forever, and as much they can accumulate. Of course, in Kali Yuga, people get smart. After they accumulate so much, they spend some money to preserve their body, so in case, if they come back, then at least that they have that body back, right? There's a big company, they have a big warehouse in Arizona, and when a person died, they charge like a couple of $1 million or whatever it is, and they separate everything, and they preserve everything. So in case scientists someday they can bring back the person alive, then the body is there, preserved. Right? When the Walt Disney passed away, the Disney World founder, and then his family members, they were fighting about his will, and his body was preserved, and they got so upset that somebody just unplugged it. So you can imagine, the body is rotten. You can freeze the body, but when it's unfreeze, it's rotten. So this is what is going on, that people think that, they can come back to this life again. Anyway, so here in this particular purport, Srila Prabhupada also describing that how Vedic literature come into being. And it is not for just in Caitanya Chaitamrita Madhya Leela. Can you go there? Chaitanya Madhya Leela, chapter 22, text 118. Madhya 22, 118. Where Srila Prabhupada is describing that the 64 qualities of or 64 items of the devotional service. And in the purport, go to the purport, and purport Srila Prabhupada is describing, one of you can read. Can you read?
Accepting an unlimited number of devotees or disciples is very risky for one who is not a preacher. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, a preacher has to accept many disciples to expand the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is risky because when a spiritual master accepts a disciple, he naturally accepts the disciple's sinful activities and their reactions. Unless he is very powerful, he cannot assimilate all the sinful reactions of his disciples and has to suffer the consequences. Therefore, one is generally prohibited to accept many disciples. One should not particularly study a book just to pose oneself as a great scholar by being able to refer to scriptures. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we have therefore limited our study of the Vedic literatures to the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya Charitamrita, and the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. These 4 works are very sufficient for preaching purposes. They are adequate for understanding the philosophy and the spreading of the missionary activities all over the world. If one studies a particular book, he must do so thoroughly. That is the principle. By thoroughly studying a limited number of books, one can understand the philosophy.
Thank you. So the first portion is describing the accepting too many disciples. But the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is describing that these are the 4 books. So, and these all 4 books are we can say that it's Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Bhagavad Gita establishes all the principle of the Bhagavatam. Then there is a Bhagavatam, and then Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita is also the further explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Or Krishna is showing how to be as a Mahaprabhu. So that is also depend on Bhagavatam. And the last one is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. So that is also when we glorify the Lord, how to deal with the Lord, right? What is the devotional service? So these are Prabhupada said these 4 books are enough. You don't need to read many books. Because Vedic literature is very vast. Right? So what is it described that there was a Vedas originally is a one Veda actually, right? And it's origin of all knowledge. And it describes its apurushaya. What is apurushaya means?
It is not made by a common human.
Yeah, it's not made by the common human, apurushaya, right? But it's considered the breathing of Vishnu, right? So this, it says, sometimes it says different thing, but anyway, it said there was only one Veda before, and that was the Yajur Veda. Sometimes they have some different name also. Sometimes they say original Veda wasn't Yajur, there was something else. But anyway, one of the 4 Vedas was original. And then Vyasadeva divided into the 4. Now Rig Vedas has mainly prayers. Okay, the Yajur Veda is the hymns for oblations. The Sama Veda is the prayers and hymns in meter of singing, and Atharva Veda is the body, world maintenance and destructions. So these are the 4 Vedas are describing, different Vedas are describing different things. And it says that in Vedic civilization, 3 orders lived in a forest. Who lived in a forest? The 3 orders. Vanaprastha, yeah. Vanaprastha, sannyas, and even brahmachari. They lived in forest. Because they had, it's by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we have something to do in the city, right? To do Harinam or distribute books or, distribute prasadam, preach to the people. But otherwise, in the earlier days, people were peaceful. They were living in the villages or forests and simple. But in the cities, so here only Grihastha inhabited the cities. The regulated knowledge for living in the city is revealed in the books known as Brahmanas, where the regulated knowledge for the living entity in the forest is revealed in the book known as Aranyakas. So all this, the portion of the Vedic literature. Then there are Smriti, Shruti, Smriti, Nyaya. So I mean, the way when we say Vedic literature, it's like many times people would say, I don't read Bhagavad Gita, I don't read Itihasas and Ramayanas and Bhagavatam, and I just read original Vedas. But if one read original Vedas, they go crazy. Just go online and try to just look Vedas and try to read something. It doesn't make any sense. I have tried it. Not for the purpose of reading it, but I just sometimes, when people say I read original Vedas, I say, let me see what they are saying. But if you read something, it just doesn't make any sense. Because it's a very vast literature. It's got so much information in there. And as we've seen in the last chapter, that after compiling everything, Srila Vyasadeva wasn't happy, wasn't satisfied. Right? Until his Guru Maharaj came and Narada Muni says that you are not satisfied because you haven't glorified the Supreme Lord directly. And then he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. He compiled the Vedanta Sutra. So Vedanta Sutra is also what it says that something you can say very precisely but in very short form. That is Vedanta Sutra. For example, the first Vedanta Sutra is, come on, everybody knows it. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Right? Prabhupada always said that. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So, if one can explain what is Athato Brahma Jigyasa, then, and like Srila Prabhupada or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati can give lecture on, for a month on just Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now, in this human body, you should have a Brahma Jigyasa. Who is Lord? Who I am? What is my relationship with the Lord? How can I establish my relationship with the Lord? But all this subject matter is just in one sentence, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So these are the Vedanta Sutras, and Vyasadeva understood that people of Kali Yuga, how can they understand this thing? So explanation to the Vedanta Sutra, he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. So one can understand very clearly the purpose of the Vedas. And Bhagavad Gita says, right, like Maharaj was saying that day, 15:15, Vedescha sarve raham eva vedyo vedanta vidked chaham. Right? I am the compiler of the Vedas, I am to be known through the Vedas. So if one study the Vedas and they don't come to that conclusion, what is the point? Because he is the compiler, he is to be known through that Vedas. So Vyasadeva was very merciful and he wrote this, and then Vaishnava Acharyas, different Acharyas, then there is also Bhasyas. Bhasyas means there is a further commentary. And Sripad Sankaracharya, he wrote a Bhasya, but he wrote it impersonal. And then there are four Acharyas of the four Vaishnava Sampradaya, they wrote it in proper Vaishnava Siddhanta. And for us, who was that? Huh? Yeah, for us, who wrote this Bhasya? Yeah? Baldev Vidyabhushan, Govinda Bhasya, because we did not have Bhasya. So they were saying that first of all, in Jaipur, in the kingdom, they were saying that these Gaudiya Vaishnavas are not bona fide because they don't have Bhasya. And they are worshipping Radha and Krishna. They say they should not worship Radha Krishna, they should worship Krishna only. So Baldev, it was actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur who was supposed to go, but he was very old at that time. So he sent his disciple, Baldev Vidyabhushan. And Baldev Vidyabhushan prayed to Govinda Dev, for his blessings, that I don't know what I'm going to do now. And Govinda Dev revealed to him this Bhasya. That's why he said, when he wrote it as the title, Govinda Bhasya, because it was given by Srila Govinda Dev. So, in our Gaudiya Vaishnava has also Bhasya, and that is written by Baldev Vidyabhushan. So all this Vedic literature is very, very vast. And here it says in the purport that our Krishna consciousness movement, we have therefore limited to the 4 books. And what is the program Srila Prabhupada established? Is to read these 4 books, chant the holy name, do the deity worship, and go to Sankirtan. Prasadam. Prasadam is important. Prasadam is important. In order to maintain, we need nourishment, right? And prasadam is there. So, Prabhupada made it very simple, and we can see that Vyasadeva made it simple, Mahaprabhu came and showed it how to do it, and then 6 Goswami, even though they live under the different tree every day, but they give so much. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, and they made it everything very easy. Up to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, how many rounds you have to chant? 64. Can you imagine if we have to chant 64 rounds every day? And Prabhupada says that, chant 32. Still couldn't do it. Prabhupada said, okay, 16, but no less than 16. Many times people say that, Prabhupada said there's a backdoor key he has, he can. This is the key. 16 rounds, not 64. That is the key. He has given us very mercifully. He was like our grandfather, right? He knows that we are no use. Just a little bit, we can chant, eat Krishna Prasad, do some Sankirtan, book distribution, Prasadam distribution, or the Grihastha can give some donation. And very easy process by Prabhupada's mercy. Any question? कोई प्रश्न है? You have something, Maharaj?
No, there were. Thank you for a very stimulating lecture. I have 16,108 points to make. No, one thing is, I think it's the Nectar of Devotion. Prabhupada also gives. Again, just reading it, Prabhupada said, don't read too many books, right? And he says the same thing. He says Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and teachings of Lord Chaitanya, because that wasn't done then.
Yes.
And so, now we have, Brihat Bhagavatamrita, and other books are there that are coming out, which are all basically the same thing. Another point is that in terms of the Bhaktivedanta Institute, which I was working with Srup Damodar and then Prabhupada, and I think other groups too, Prabhupada was saying, yeah, other books, you can read them and look at them and do it thoroughly, nicely, But then, if you can explain them in terms of Krishna consciousness or use them for preaching Krishna consciousness, that is also all right, But they're based on, sharpening your intelligence on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and then you can explain these things like that, so on. And one last point: this previous verse and this verse, both of them, Prabhupada says that by sharing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can attain the perfection of human life, which is liberation from the threefold miseries, and that's the perfection of life, liberation. Yeah. So Bhagavatam is starting off, and the purports, translations, Prabhupada translates bhakti as sentiments and emotions and all these things, which in the purport he goes through and justifies that. The purports a lot of times justify the translation, which does not exactly follow the word-by-word meanings, and when we're dealing with other people, we should know that. But usually the translations are from Vishnu, what's his first name? Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami, from him, and the purports from Jiva Goswami. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah, it's a very good point. That even though it says liberation, Srila Prabhupada explained. That's why the Prabhupada's purport are more important than the translation even. And there are many Sanskrit scholars and all that, when they read Srila Prabhupada's book, it's mind-boggling for them, because it is not word-to-word Prabhupada translate, and that's not how Prabhupada. Because the point is that the devotional service is more important. So Srila Prabhupada's purport, Srila Prabhupada's translation, it's all, Sometimes it says that Krishna Uvacha, and Srila Prabhupada says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna say. So even though it doesn't say Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Prabhupada emphasized it. Right? There was one British critic, he was looking at Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and then somebody asked, what do you think about it? He said, yeah, it's good, but he don't give any leeway. Prabhupada don't give any leeway to independent thinking. Prabhupada don't let you think. Prabhupada just point you to Krishna directly. So you don't waste time with your tiny, Prabhupada say, what teeny brain. Right? So Prabhupada don't give any leeway, he just very focused in Krishna consciousness. Life is too short to speculate and waste our time. So this is the genius purports of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada's purports are very important, very, very, more than even the verse itself. And many times it is shown that the verse says something and Prabhupada is little tweeting it, to make sure that we understand that end of the day the most important thing is Krishna and the devotional service to Him. So He's always channeling us in a right direction. So today also a Desapience Day of Ramchandra Khan, Ramachandra. Remember Narottam Das Thakur sing, Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Das, Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu. Yes, Maharaj, give it to Maharaj.
I'd heard this thing about Walt Disney being frozen and stuff. Then I heard that some people said, no, not true. So I looked up on the Wikipedia.
Okay.
I looked up on the AI robot, and they said...
Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhav Radha Giridhari Ki Raj Govardhan Gaur Nitai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Radha Nila Madhav, I don't want to hear this. No. His birth certificate says, and the family says, and everything else, that his body was cremated.
Okay.
Within very quickly. and then it was put in the ashes are there in a place in so he never was frozen. And the first person to be frozen was actually about 7 months after he died. So his body, according to all that, his body never was frozen. It's
Okay.
But it's like it's an exciting story. Walt Disney coming back again like that.
Thank you, Maharaj. So Ramachandra Kaviraj, and Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit, and who was the third one? Srinivas Acharya. So these three were the disciples of, or at least study under Srila Jiva Goswami, and they were being sent to the east from Vrindavan with all the books and everything. And anyway, so Srinivas Acharya one time was sitting and he was discussing Krishna Katha in his veranda, and some marriage ceremony, some marriage party was passing by, and that was a marriage of Ramachandra Kaviraj. He was a big physician. It described that he had a very beautiful body, young, but he was a worshipper of Shiva, Shakta worshipper. So when he got married and he was going with his wife, and in Pelican, people were carrying him, and he saw the Srinivas Acharya, and suddenly, he just kept looking at him, And Srinivas Acharya saw him, and he was also thinking, he said, who is this guy? And then he went home with his wife, and they had a festivity there and things like that. But before the day end, he came back to Jajigram. That's where the Srinivas Acharya was staying. So then he came back, he stayed at one Brahman's house, and very next day he went to go and meet him. He gave a Dandavat Pranam, and he was in love with Srinivas Acharya, and then he took initiation from him, he became his disciple. So actually we see that, but it described that he was very humble, and he was very educated, and even though he was Narottam Thakur was like his uncle, right? Because he was a disciple of Srinivas Acharya, and still he was so humble, and Narottam Das Thakur liked him so much. He says that I would like to have his association. We can see in the song that Narottam Das Thakur glorify all the acharyas and Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis and everybody, but then also he is glorifying Ramachandra Kaviraj, that he liked to have his association. He was a very special personality. And also today is Happiness Day of Gopala Bhatta Goswami. He is one of the 6 Goswamis. He was a son of a Venkata Bhatta. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was visiting in South India, at 4 months he stayed at the Sri Rangam, Ranga Kshetra, where Sri Ranganath Ji is there, beautiful deities. And he stayed there for 4 months. And they had when he went there to see the Lord, just looking at the Lord, Mahaprabhu just fainted. And Venkata Bhatta can see that this is a very special personality. He went there, and when Mahaprabhu came to the external consciousness, he requested him that, come to my home and take prasad. So he went there and to his home, and it was Chaturmas was supposed to start. So he requested him, why don't you stay here for 4 months? So Mahaprabhu stayed there, and Venkata Bhatta and his brother Subodhananda, what is his name? Prabodhananda Saraswati, yeah. So they both were serving him very nicely, and Venkata Bhatta was a little boy, he was also serving the Lord very nicely. When Lord was ready to leave after 4 months, he also wanted to go with the Lord. Gopala Bhatta, just a small little boy. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, you stay home, stay with your parents, and when your parents passed away, then you go to Vrindavan. And you meet Rupa and Sanatan. This is what the instruction he gave him. So after his parents passed away, he went to Vrindavan, and Rupa and Sanatan was waiting for him, because Mahaprabhu already told them also that he will come. So he was a very special person, very humble person. He gave a lot of information for Chaitanya Charitamrita to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, but he told him that don't use my name. Don't make any reference of my name, so you don't see any reference by him in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he was, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's departure, he was lamenting, and Mahaprabhu told him to go to Nepal in the dream. So he went to Nepal, where is a Gandaki river, and the Gandaki river you will find many Shilas. So he went there, he had his Kamandalu, Maharaj, we don't see your Kamandalu anymore. Oh, okay, here you go. It's got smaller, Maharaj. He used to be bigger. Maharaj is like a Six Goswami. He would sit and he won't let anybody serve. He would just go with his little container, he put everything in there, and he would just take prasadam, and then he would wash his own pot. He won't let anybody wash it. So this Gopala Bhatta Goswami, he went there and he got some water in Kamandalu, and he saw that there were some Shilas in there. So gently he put those Shilas in the water again, and again he took some water to do puja, and again he saw and this happened 3 times. Then he thought that, I should take the Shila with me. So there were 12 Shilas. He took it to Vrindavan and he was worshipping Shila every day. And one fine day, the rich merchant came and he was giving all the sadhus, whatever deities they have, he would give some cloths and some ornaments for the deity. And he was just thinking, he said, I have a Shila. I can't put any clothes on, And he was thinking like that, and he just went to sleep. Next morning when he woke up, one of the Shila turned into the Radha Raman. Right? So, and Radha Raman is, I'm sure everybody has seen, he is like about 12 inches, very small. And but very beautiful deity. That day you were showing the picture? Yeah, about 3-4 days ago, yeah, when we talk about it. And it converted into the small Krishna deity. And sometimes you can see his fingernail, sometimes you can see his teeth, and sometimes you don't. It's amazing how and that's the only deity which did not live in Vrindavan. All other deities were, when Aurangzeb was coming and destroying the temples, all the deities were moved to Jaipur. But the Radharaman stayed in Vrindavan because he was very small. I guess they can hide him. So he was very happy to see that, and he told Jiva Goswami what happened. Rupa and Sanatan was also there, and they become very happy. Here is the deity. And it described that behind the Ramanji, you can see that there is a shape of a Shila. We don't have a picture of it, but it says that, that it came from Shila, so there is still some resemblance of there. You see the teeth here in this picture? No. Yeah. I also had that. Yeah. No, it's the manifested. And sometimes you see, sometimes you don't. They don't put it. And sometimes you see his face is smiling. Yeah. It's very nice deity. I like to visit that temple. Every time I go there, I try to go every day, to see that deity. It's one of the 7 deities of Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada also, like when he was living there, he was writing the books and everything, but whenever he would go, he would visit the different Goswamis' deities, and this is one of the deity Prabhupada also frequently visited. So today is the appearance day of Gopala Bhatta Goswami. And then Gopala Bhatta Goswami one time visited Hardwar, and he stayed at one Brahmin's place. And that Brahmin requested him, he says that I don't have any issues, any children. So he said that if you bless me and if I have a son, I'll send my son to your service. So one day, after like 10 years, Gopala Bhatta Goswami came to his place and he saw that there was a small little boy was standing there. So the boy bowed down to him and he says that, my father told me to come here and take care of you. So by Gopala Bhatta Goswami's mercy, there was a son that Brahmin had, and the son became 10-year-old, he sent it to him. And then, so he got married and all that. Those are the devotees who take care of Radha Ramanji. Because Gopala Bhatta Goswami never got married or anything, so, but these are the families that they take care of. And they are very favorable to ISKCON. Many devotees had visited there. Actually, what's his name? Maharaj, do you remember the name of the person who is there? One of the family, he travels to many ISKCON temple. Vishwambar, yes, Vishwambar. So the Vishwambar Prabhu, he came to our temple also, here also, and he was showing some Vrindavan Holi and whatnot, some videos and all that. Huh? Yeah.
I was visiting when he came, and he was doing his slideshow on a screen.
Yeah.
And somebody was trying to cheat and take pictures of all the slides, and get his slideshow. And we're trying to tell the guy, you're using a flash.
Oh.
He wouldn't believe us, because so all he ended up with was 45 blank slides, disturbing everybody. Yeah. But then, because one purport in Caitanya Charitamrita, I think it's the one where Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya say goodbye to each other, and it's in in Vijayanagar, was it? Wherever they were, where they were talking, and they did it in the temple of Hanuman, and I can think it's that purport that Prabhupada says that Hanuman is worshipped all over India. Everybody should worship him. And he says there's a very nice deity of Hanuman right next to the Radha Govinda temple, and formerly he was with Gopal. But when Gopal left to become Sakshi Gopal, then he moved next to the temple there, And so Hanuman, I was wondering where it was and everything else. So when Vishwambarji was here, then I asked him where it was. He said, yeah, when you're going up the steps, to the Radha Govinda temple from the main street, he said, on the first right. And we went there and we found him. It's called, what's he called? It has a name. Anyway, he's a big bas relief. It's a big thing like that and stuff. There's a whole story behind him. Singapore Hanuman. Yeah. But yeah, very nice. And even our last trip, our last movie, the 4th movie. Yeah. Then we're traveling, everything else, and all this stuff. And we finished our whole trip in India in 2 weeks, taking all these scholars, and they were very satisfied. And we're packing up to leave all the equipment, and they got this message that Vishwambar Goswami wants to see you, wants to see your crew, and we're all packing up, okay. So near the temple, he has an ashram hotel, very nice place. So we got over there with our whole crew, And by then, they'd all been practicing and stuff, so they could set, they started setting up the reflectors and the lights and everything else, and he was like, you know, like adjusting his, yeah, this guy's a professional and stuff, and this is you know, going to be broadcast. So then he showed us where he started, because he's the preceptor now, and there's so many books they have. I mean, things going back hundreds of years, and there's just sitting there, a lot of them, and just decaying and falling apart. So after seeing the Bhaktivedanta Research Center project in Calcutta, he decided we can do that. So now he started doing it. They very carefully, you know, take the pages and they take pictures of them. Then they put them in acid-free plastic and stuff. And so many books are just, you know, sitting there in piles, and now they're already going into archive thing, you know. He took us back to his room and he showed us his, I guess it's his grandfather's diary. Maybe it was his father or grandfather's diary. And he had all these pages marked with little things. And he marked all the places where his grandfather had talked about his experiences with what was his name? Huh? Yeah, what's that other name? Vimal Prasad. Yeah. As usual, you know, we met with some Brahmins in Vrindavan, and as usual, Bimal Prasad agitated all of them. You know, yeah, he was right. And afterwards, when I explained things nicely, they agreed. You know, he was a nice person. You know, but the things that had never been published, he's just going through them. And our camera guys, you know, Rao, he's going crazy. This is like, you know, original material. You're sitting right behind with the camera, like that and stuff. And so it was a very good interview. You know. So finally we finished off, and then I asked any questions, and Abhiram Thakur from Peru was with us, one of our biggest developers, and then Hector Behar, who works with the United Nations. He's one of the biggest current historians in all of Latin American community, very tall, very aristocratic, and you know, he was Chancellor of Peru for some time and so on. And it was just, you know, taking him on this trip. So at the end, I asked, anybody have any questions? And Abhiram asked, he said, do you have a dance tradition in Radharaman Temple? Because they're very famous for their music traditions, their bhajan singers going, okay. And also, and he kind of like nodded no, like a little bit like, you know, I wish we did. But he said, we've always focused on the kirtan and the prasad. That's what we're doing like that. But yeah, it would be nice to have famous dancers. Then Hector, said in Spanish, translated, he said, I don't have any questions, but I have two comments. This is after our whole tour, after all 4 movies. It's in the movie there, finishing everything off and taking them and these guys from the United Nations and everything else. And he said, strain their necks. Yeah, he said, my first comment is that I've been to India, I think I said 3 times before, with programs sponsored by the United Nations on world militarism and world poverty. And India definitely has ideas and systems about how to deal with these things. You know? He said, but this time I've seen the heart of India. Of course, I'm sitting there like, God, it's like, you know, you got this, you're recording this? Because yeah, that was our whole thing, is that he's Sita, he's this innocent soul trapped, and we showed him, and he come to the conclusion, he said, this time I've seen the heart of India, and he said, that's a gift I can't can't pay back, you know? And so I'm, whatever I can do, you know? And he said, the second thing is, in Peru, we've saved maybe 15% of our tradition, you know, maybe of our indigenous tradition, which is very nice, you know? And he said, but in India, not only have you saved it, but you're living it and developing it and stuff. And so on. And my second comment is that I'm very envious, you know, of your culture and so on, you know. Yeah. So like you're saying, we have one last thing. Okay, no time. Okay. Anybody wants to ask?
Go ahead, Maharaj. Finish it.
All right. They were, Shishi Radha, they want to hear this, I guess. Radha Minam Bihari, Radha Nilamadama Kidai. It was in Vrindavan, you know, during Prabhupada's, you know, disappearance, Tirabhava festival, and this big conflict was coming up about, you know, Ritviks and all this kind of stuff, and no, all the ISKCON gurus are cheaters and whatever else like that, or else, anybody who doesn't accept an ISKCON guru is going to hell forever. You must, kiss his feet or something. All these different groups. And so it's finally coming to this whole organized thing, and the Kshatriyas were organizing it, and there was going to be a big conference in there, this big debate and everything else. So I was in the temple when they were starting to do the glorifications of Prabhupada, and every year Vishwambara Prabhu would come and talk about Prabhupada. It was very nice. So he came in and he was obviously very disturbed, and he said, "Oh, this is just so terrible. I've been hearing about this thing, and today is the day to glorify Prabhupada, but I hear that his children are going to have this big fight and all this kind of stuff, and this is terrible." And he said, Vrindavan is not the place for these family fights. If you want to do this thing, you go to Kurukshetra and do it. And that was it. I mean, everybody decided exactly what he said. Yeah, it's right. Forget it. We all want to talk about Prabhupada. So, God goes on.
Thank you, Maharaj. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Any question? Any comments? Someone has? They can't wait. All right. Let's have a prasadam. Hare Krishna.